Artist Talk. Live one-on-one conversation, 30 minutes of pure entertainment with musicians, writers, and actors to motivators, chefs, and even rappers to up-and-comers with the it factor. It's the Jazzie KWard coming at ya. Have fun, some smiles, a few laughs. Tune in, chime in, sit back, relax. Have fun, some smiles, a few laughs.
Hey everyone, happy Thursday and welcome to the show Artist Talk. I'm your host, Jazzie KWard. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your homes wherever you are across the world on this Thursday night. So if you're like chilling on the sofa or if you're in a car, make sure you pay attention. But listen, pay attention to the road. And I see people logging on, but go ahead and pour your glass of wine or cranberry juice or water, whatever you drink, and let's enjoy the show tonight. But first, what I need you to do is to jump over to KWard Radio, my YouTube channel. Right there. Make sure you hit that little bell right there so you can get all the notifications. Go back and watch the show. Check out these amazing artists, all who are called that have the it factor. That's right. The it factor. They all have the it factor. As well as you can go over to kwardradio.com and subscribe. It only takes maybe 2 minutes for you to subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as my website. Share with your family and friends. I'm super excited about the show tonight. We have with us the group Under the Lake. And if you have not heard of Under the Lake, what's my saying? Shame on you. So you're going to get to know them a little tonight up close and personal. So I hope some of the guys can join us tonight. So you got Patrick Yando, Quentin Gerard, better known as the funky sax player. Keyboardist Jason Tip is also with us tonight. Nathan Brown, Richard Sellers. So we hope some of the other guys can join us tonight. I see people coming on. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Victoria. Welcome. But first, ladies and gentlemen, let's show you a snippet of the group Under the Lake doing what they do best. And that's music, y'all, right here. Hey, see that y'all didn't realize I was actually in the band Under the Lake, but I had to go on tour, so they just didn't show me in that footage. I told y'all that. Yeah, right. So ladies and gentlemen, this is international recording jazz group Under the Lake. Now, they are simply everything that you would love about jazz. I call them copacetic and cool. Their jazz blends are to live for. So let's show them a lot of love. Let's start sharing the videos and let's welcome international recording artist jazz group, hopefully some of the members, Under the Lake.
Awesome. Thank you.
What's up, my friend Jason? How are you, sir?
I'm good. We'll make sure we get some of your footage in next time.
Please do. I was telling everybody, I used to be with the group. No. So hopefully they can get me some footage. I would love for you guys to teach me some of your artistry. I mean, just the blend of you guys are just awesome. And I know people are on, and again, hello everyone. Hey, Victoria, Stan, Mickey, Nicole. We got Diva J. Fincher. She's also on the line. If you have questions for Under the Lake, just leave them the comments there. I promise you, we'll do our best to answer those. And sorry about that, Jason, but again, I just love the mixture of the group Under the Lake.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. I mean, we when you think about smooth jazz and all the groups or all the music we hear out there, so much of it, and I think it's because it's so easy for people to record now at home, right, that so much of it is an individual artist. It's not really very often bands anymore. Right. We've been together almost 30 years, and we were inspired by groups like Spyro Gyra and the Crusaders and Foreplay and Chick Corea's Electric Band, and and always had a band mentality about it. And I suppose if I were when I was younger a virtuoso keyboard player, maybe I would have had a big enough ego that it would have just been my name and I would have just been the front man for the band. But I always liked that that band sound, the interplay of all the musicians, and so we always approach it. And this is not to critique anybody out there, because there's so many musicians out there. I love their music, even if they're doing their own solo thing. But we don't, you listen to our music, you don't hear the guitar player carrying the song for 5 minutes. You hear a little bit of guitar, you hear a little bit of saxophone, you hear the keyboards. We try to make room for the drums and the bass. We try to have it show up like a band, and that's always been really important to us.
Well, I think that's great, Jason. And I do have a question for you, Jason. Myron Phillips says, hey, happy Thursday, Myron. Does the band travel with a female vocalist? Have you ever had a female vocalist?
I think we may have performed with a female vocalist once or twice. We have not done that regularly and have not done it for a long time. But if Mesa's out there, if she's listening, she can sit in with us anytime. Or
my friend Mesa.
I'm blanking on her name.
Okay.
Sunshine.
Avery Sunshine.
Avery Sunshine. Oh, she could anytime.
So hopefully somebody share this to the page, or I can call Mesa and be like, Mesa, Under the Lake, y'all would do a song. I think that would be phenomenal.
I think we have songs that, that's another thing I think about a lot as I compose. And I write most of the material that the group does, not all of the material that the group does. I write a lot of stuff with Quentin Gerard, our sax player. But I try to approach it and write melodies that someone could sing to, as opposed to just riffs. And it's just that I'm not a singer and I'm not a lyricist, so the songs end up being instrumental songs. But yeah, if anybody's out there got a great pair of pipes and some ideas, we're happy to work with them.
Right. So you heard it right here, guys, right here on Artist Talk. So Mesa, Avery Sunshine, hey, we need to link you up with Under the Lake, do some vocals, whatever. And if you know any other singers out there that may want to come on the show, also and get with the group Under Lake. I think that would be phenomenal. Well,
Years ago we did a show with Arnold McCuller, if you remember, because I think he's still out there doing his thing. He was awesome.
Okay, oh, I remember him. Most definitely. Just to go back a little bit, Jason, last year, I always say this, it was a blessing, it was a curse, even for me with the whole pandemic. So how have you and your family, and I don't know if you could probably speak for the entire group, and I know Quentin KWard is trying to log on, but just how have you and your family been navigating?
We've been fine, luckily. Very, very, very lucky. Most of our family's been really conservative about it. Staying in, wearing masks from early on. I've been lucky enough. Well, wasn't gigging, and lucky enough to work from home for everything else. My parents are older. They're safe, thank goodness. My daughter is a healthcare professional, but luckily she was safe. So it's all been good. We did have, it was a year and a half ago. Well, not quite a year and a half ago. A little over a year ago. Early March, our last album came out, which was Your Horizon 2. And we were getting ready, and then everything shut down. But right as everything shut down, we were getting ready to do all of sort of the marketing and promotional stuff that you do. We were going to do videos. We were recording, right? That video that you just showed was actually one of the things that we did. But I couldn't get a hold of Quentin for about 3 weeks.
Okay.
And I thought, man, you're ghosting me. What's going on? And then I felt really bad because when he came back, he's like, I was in the hospital, man. I got sick, and he got it very, very early. He lives in New Orleans, but luckily he was the only member of the band that got sick. Everybody else has been good.
Okay, that's great, because I found it at a time, Jason, and I hear a lot of people say this was a time for me to reflect. Sometimes I can procrastinate with some things. But it also made me appreciate life more because, I always say, I need this, or I have to have this. And then I realized this last year and a half, which I've been at home, and thank God I'm able to have the opportunity to work from home, that I realized that, I have a lot of the necessities and things that I really need, and all these different desires and wants, I could really kind of hold off on.
Yeah, I agree with that. There were a lot of... it slowed down life. And so while it wasn't for the best reasons, there were a lot of opportunities to kind of stop and count your blessings. My wife and I started gardening, and now that's become a passion. I started cooking. So we shifted from sort of sharing the cooking duties every day to now I cook dinner most times. And, that's now become like a hobby, is baking things, although we're trying to go on a diet now because I kind of overdid it. We also felt the same way with the new album, because as I said, the last album came out in March of last year.
Right.
And we expected to be out promoting it and gigging and there was a blessing in disguise in that we were, able to spend a little more time doing the kind of the business stuff. But really quickly, I found myself with a lot of extra time on my hands in the studio, and I reached out to the guys and I said, I know we weren't planning on doing it this year, but let's record another album. I mean, I just got plenty of ideas. I'm writing, and we went back in the studio and, basically had all of these new tunes recorded by September of last year. Okay. And, one of the songs on the album is called Silver Lining, and it's kind of named for that, right? That even though we wanted to be doing other things, the silver lining of it was we got to work on this album, and we felt good about that.
Okay, that's great. And I was going to ask you, how did you? I think we actually have Quentin KWard that's finally able, I think, to join us. And Quentin KWard, I know him as the funky sax player. I've been a huge fan.
There he is.
Hey man, I was using Firefox. Sorry about that.
That is okay. I'm so glad you're here, my brother.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Artist Talk.
Thanks, man. Great to be here. Oh, look at Costello. What?
Yeah, that's my girl, Costello. Costello.
No, that's my girl first, then your girl second.
Okay. Hey, Michael Levine, my other dear friend.
Yes.
Yay. So, so everyone, if you're just joining the show, I'm Jazzie KWard, your host for Artist Talk. We have the group Under the Lake, which consists of Patrick Yendo, Quentin Gerard, Jason Tipp, Nathan Brown, and Richard Sellers. And so I think Quentin and of course Jason is going to be here tonight with us. If you have any questions or comments for the guys, please post them there. So Quentin, how are you, my brother?
Hey, man, I'm doing good. I'm doing fabulous. Working as usual. Just finished a single that I recorded this past Sunday. I'm going to do a single release on July 19th for my solo project. And then, of course, I just finished the Under the Lake project as well, which is awesome, man. I really had fun with that.
Yeah. So, Quentin and Jason, so tell me, how did you come up with the name Under the Lake? I'm sure probably Jason's going to answer.
That's Jason.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I always fail to explain it well. We've been doing this for 30 years, and I always fail to explain it well. It was probably a name I came up after too much partying, but I went to, when I was in college, I went to a lecture where somebody was talking about the music business, and they said, be sure when you name a band that it has to be a distinctive name, a name nobody else will use, nobody else will copy.
That's it.
And I think I had 5 choices at the time that were really names I was pretty sure nobody else would use. I mean, like Chicago's been used, Boston's been used, right?
Right.
And this was one of them. And this one kind of stuck. A friend of mine said at the time, it's really interesting because if you think about it, you see what's on the surface of the lake, but you never see what's under the lake.
Right.
And so it's kind of a term that refers to something that otherwise is indescribable. And sometimes we feel like, we were talking about it a little bit earlier, where we feel like our music, while it's fantastic, doesn't fit sort of the cookie cutter that often the genre wants you to fit.
Right. Okay. That's cool. And Quentin Gerard, for you, the funky sax player. I mean, at 90.7, I've been at WVAS about 27 years, and I remember the funky sax player.
Yeah.
Just for those who are new to you, just tell us a little bit about the funky sax player and how you got started.
Well, man, it's that whole funky sax thing is unique because I get asked that a lot, first of all. And I'll tell you the story of how I met Jay and how I joined the group Under the Lake, because that was kind of funny and phenomenal as well. But the funky sax thing comes all the way back to a man named Ellis Marsalis. When I was in school, I was at Loyola University studying jazz under Ellis, and that's why I went there. I had scholarships to Berkeley, up in Boston, and also USC, but I didn't go there because I wanted to study with Ellis. Because of I was home already in New Orleans, and just that rich history of jazz from that family, that was the reason why I chose to go there. So one day I was just kind of in the lounge area, and he walks in. It was early morning. I was tired, and so he goes, "Hey, Wilson, so my oldest son is the greatest saxophone player on the planet right now. So what are you going to bring to the instrument?"
Okay.
So he hit me like that, basically, right? So, and I was like, "Really, Ellis? It's too early for this, man." So, but actually, it got me thinking, and it made me thinking. And I said, "You know what? He's got a point. Yeah, he's right. What am I going to do as a saxophone player that's different than everything everybody's doing already?" And so I went inside myself and started to do a soul search and said, "Well, really, who am I? I didn't even know. I really didn't even know who I was as a player." And then I just realized that my musical upbringing, I wasn't really a jazz player coming up. I was a funk player. I listened to a lot of R&B, gospel, and funk music. And so I did not want to abandon that history because that's a rich history of music. I mean, the whole Stax catalog, man, is like, my favorite stuff, and so I started learning to play jazz when I got to college. So I merged the two And I said, well, really, that's who I am. I'm the funky sax player because I like funk music, R&B, gospel, blues, but I just happen to play saxophone. So that's where the whole funky sax thing come from. And then you can thank Ellis Marsalis for that.
Okay. But you also play the flute too, right?
Yeah, I play flute as a double. I wouldn't say that I'm a flautist, but I've played it on a couple of Under Lake records and some of my own stuff. So after college, I moved to Los Angeles, and then I kind of started hanging out around the city, doing jingles, commercials, sessions, and all that stuff. So one day, I wind up at the Grammy party, after party. I was there with Shanice. Are you familiar with Shanice? Remember Shanice? Yeah, and hanging around with them, and then Jay and Under the Lake was there, and the saxophone player didn't show up that night.
Oh,
so case would have it, I just happened to have my saxophone with me. So Jay, I asked him, well, Jay, did you ask me to play or did I ask you to play? I can't remember.
You came up. You were pretty bold. You came up and you're like, I was listening to you guys warm up, and I can play that stuff. And why don't you let me sit in with you? And we were like, I don't know, man, because
he was really giving me a hard time, man. I was like, dude, what's the deal? You don't have a horn player. I got a horn right here. What's going on?
That's a funny story. Hey, everybody, if you're just joining the show, I'm Jazzie KWard. You tune right here to Artist Talk. We have the group Under the Lake. We have two of the members with us. We have Jason Tip, keyboard player, also, and Quentin KWard, the funky sax player, also with us. And we're going to take a short break, and we're going to have a little bit more conversation right here on Artist. Hi, this is Jazzie KWard, your host for Saturday Jazz Affair on FM 90.7 WVAS. Join me for a new segment of Artist Talk. That's 10 a.m. Central Standard Time each Saturday on WVAS. We're going to talk to artists about their music, have great conversation, and much more. That's on Artist Talk on 90.7 FM WVAS. Of course, you can stream the show via WVASFM.org. I hope you can tune in. Hey, welcome back to Artist Talk. We're talking with some of the group members from the international jazz group Under the Lake. We have Mr. Jason Tip and Mr. Quentin KWard joining us tonight. And I want to just go back a little bit, Quentin, before that. I was talking to Jason about, with the pandemic and being a blessing and a curse, but I did want to ask you, how have you been doing and your family just through this entire process?
Hey, man, unfortunately, it hit me hard last year. So I was out 23 days with what was diagnosed as just pneumonia. But at that time, I don't think they were really testing properly because I've never had anything like that before. Okay, I'll tell you. And I was out 23 days. And it was pretty scary there at one point. So I didn't even know if I was going to make it. But
I mentioned earlier that you were ghosting me all that time. I was getting pissed at you because you weren't responding to texts and phone calls.
I'm like, come on, man. I can't even get out of bed.
I'm dying.
Jay's, that's how he does. I'm like, I can't even get out of bed.
Wow.
But I finally got through it. And, since then, I've been a picture of health. But it was tough, man. And, the COVID thing is real. It is real. So don't take it lightly. But that being said, I believe that, if anybody's of modest health, they should be able to weather that storm. I think a lot of people that are, it becomes fatal when you probably are suffering from some pre-existing conditions or something like that. But if you're in good shape, you're going to feel bad, but you'll get it together.
Okay. Great. Well,
so that's kind of how I made it through the year, So
I'm glad you're doing well, and I'm glad you made that out of you made it through safely.
Yes, sir.
Talking about Under the Lake, you have a new project, 2021 new release. This is the 6th studio album, Old Friends, New Grooves. Who came up with
Here it is, right there.
There it is, right there. So who came up with the Old Friends, New Grooves? Who came up with that?
That's title? Jay. That's Jay. Jay is that.
It was. It's just it's just a commentary on us. There's a little bit of backstory in that. I kind of brought the group back together after 7 or 8 years, a few years ago, after not doing anything for a couple of years, and did an album in 2018, and did it with a whole different group of players, really talented guys, but a whole different group of players. In fact, we learned later that the saxophone player on that album was somebody that Quentin went to college with, but we didn't know that we were all connected.
I had no idea. Unbelievable. Dave Evans.
No idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, David Evans. Yeah, and then I was doing a phone interview, supporting that album in 2018. And I can't remember who it was with Quentin. And she says, "Oh, I've got somebody on the line who wants to ask you a question." Right. And it was Quentin.
Okay.
Yeah, I chimed in because I'm always like prowling and trolling his opportunities.
And so we got right after that interview, we got on the phone, and he's like, "Man, why don't we let's get this thing back together. Let's do it the right way." And so we went right in and recorded the last album, Your Horizon 2.
Right.
And we feel really good about that album. That album was great in a lot of ways, but it was sort of the first act, if you will. And it didn't feel like we kind of hit, when you're a runner and you kind of hit that rhythm.
Man, I don't know what Jay talking about, because I listened to that record. I love that record, man. It's one of the best sounding records we've ever done.
It is, but
really?
the new one is.
Yeah, the new one's special. Yeah,
the new one is special,
yeah,
and I was writing the tunes, and I was thinking about it, and you go back to the blessings of last year.
Yeah,
and for me, one of the blessings was I got this great group of old friends that I get to do this really special thing with that's really important to me. And it's part of who I am. And I know it's the same way that Q feels. I know it's the same way that the other guys feel. And, but we're playing these new grooves. And that was really the basis of it.
Okay, wow. So what we're going to do now, guys, is we're going to play a little bit of Old Friends, New Grooves right here on Artist Talk, and we have a little bit more conversation right after this. was over here grooving.
Me too. I had my eyes closed.
I know, right?
I was grooving.
You know, so I was gonna say, like, what's your creative process when you put something like this together, Jason and Quentin? So how do you all come together collectively with the other guys too?
So usually it's one of the guys, one of us, will come up with a melody line or some kind of groove or something and share it with somebody else in the group. Like I might do something. An inspiration comes from crazy places. So there's a track on this album called Around the Block because I was out walking the dog around the neighborhood and I just started humming a melody line. And so I got home and I had to get the melody line down. And then sometimes you do that and I'm like, I'm stuck someplace. Q, let me send you this file and listen to it and see, play something to it. And then, but typically it'll end up being a demo, something that sounds sort of like what you heard, which I'll kind of record all the parts in kind of what I call a sketch form. Mm-hmm. And then I chart everything out and send it around to everybody. And then we record our individual parts and then, put it back together and pull it together that way. Although like 3 times, Quentin, we've rewritten melodies like at the end of the process, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Jay is notorious for like saying, hey man, you know what? I don't like this. Can you play something here and give me some ideas, right? And I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? That sounds fine, But he's got this thing in his head where he's like, yeah, it sounds good, but I think we can get more out of it. Mm-hmm. So I know in one case there was one melody that was he's like, I'm trapped in this box, right? So I was like, okay, because I've been there. I know what that's like when you get into this like box and you can't get out of it like melodically. So he'll just shoot it over to me and I'll say, okay, I'll give you some ideas, and then I think I played a couple of, right, Jay, like that.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just liberates you out of that box, you know what I'm saying? So because it's always good to have another pair of ears, kind of listen and interpret something a little differently than what you may have. So we do that all the time with these projects. So it happens quite often.
So how can we? Well, hello, Whittington Steele. She's also a powerful vocalist. Jason, I know you were talking about Mesa and Avery Sunshine, and you got Whittington Steele and Costella, who could possibly be on the album. Just some names.
Go listen to a track and tell us which one you want to sing.
Right. And Nicole says the tune reminds me of a tune I love while listening to
the 101 in New York. Yeah, back in the day, right?
Timeless sound. So how do you both feel about? I know you both have been in this music industry for quite some time, but when you started, the impact of the internet maybe wasn't as strong as it is today. So how do you feel about? You've been grinding for so long, and nowadays, you have artists that come out and boom, the Billboard, the number ones.
I know.
Any comments about that?
Q?
Well, listen, I think it's fabulous that, in this business we call the music business that, someone can, have a dream, as a child or as a young adult and live in an era where you can have a vehicle to get you where you want to go that fast. Right. I mean, we talk about it like, after gigs when we're sitting at restaurants at 2 a.m, we're talking about how back in my day when I was coming up, mm-hmm. I had to climb a mountain and go to the little dude up in the mountains with the long beard, and I had to carry buckets of water and do all this slave work before he would teach me how to play saxophone, Nowadays, you just jump on YouTube and there's saxophone lessons all over the place for free. So as a saxophone player, I mean, you can be a professional saxophone player by 20 years old now. It's unheard of how great these kids sound these days at such an early age. And that's because of the technology and the resources that they have now that we didn't have. We always had to, it was like, go find some guru up in the mountains to, give us the answer. And then he wouldn't really tell you everything he knew because he wanted to keep you coming back.
Right.
That faucet, keep paying that faucet. So That's great, man. The technology today is, and even for me, I get on the internet and I take lessons from whoever. I mean, guitar players. There's this guitar player over in Europe that I love. His theory lessons is great, and I jump on YouTube, and I'm always a student, so I'm constantly learning, all the time. So it doesn't end. That's that weird psychology about music. It's just
I do the same thing.
You never get where you think you're trying to go. It's like this infinite journey you're on forever. It just never ends.
But the transition, I mean, just being on with you in this way is huge compared to what it was 30 years ago, or, all of the streaming and how many more people can get our music than 30 years ago when it was dependent on being distributed on a CD and terrestrial radio.
That's true.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that side of it. I mean, that's awesome as well. I mean,
I don't know if you noticed that what I've got here behind me, Q.
Yeah, that's my photo from my Funky Sax CD right there. Autograph photo.
Yeah, we'll zoom in on that.
Oh, you're funny, man.
What you need to make sure I get one of those signed autograph. I need one for.
He signed it. He autographed it for me.
Yeah, back in the day. Hey, man, I was happy. It was my first CD release, right? Back when being an independent artist was not like it is now. I mean, I was competing with Warner Brothers and Capitol Records and all the big guys. And here I was, this little dude with an independent label. I think there was only like a handful of us. Like Kim Waters had a label. I had a label. Jay had. This guy taught me everything right there. Jay, I'm going to tell you right now about starting a label, running a label, and all this stuff. This man right here. So I'm forever indebted to Jay for just really giving me the business side of everything. So we've had that relationship as well.
Right.
So that was awesome.
I think I'm glad that you mentioned that, Quentin and Jay, and you can jump in too. The importance of the business aspect, because lights, camera, action. You see a lot of people that get into the music business, and then you wonder like what happened with a lot of these artists. And they even through the pandemic, a lot of artists would say, I didn't know about royalties. I didn't, about streaming my music. So how important, and you both can answer this, Quentin and Jason, how important is it to know the business side of it instead of just say, hey, having a #1 Billboard hit, but then at the same time, you like, I don't really have my business in order.
Yeah, well, I'm guessing Q's in the same boat. Like, if we didn't have our business together on this, we're not stars, right? We're not making millions of dollars off of our music. It'd be lovely if we were, so we have to have our business tight. So we get paid every penny that we're supposed to get paid. Like, I don't know if I think I sent it to you. I don't know if we've talked about it. The MLC, the mechanical licensing. Yeah. So like there's new stuff all the time where there are groups in the industry that are going out and collecting royalties that are otherwise unpaid. I mean, I just got a check like 3 weeks ago for royalties I was due from people playing our music, and that all matters because then it pays for the next one. It pays for the things that we want to do to continue to reach fans and do stuff in the business. You have to have your act together. And even these days you can't depend on a label because they're in business for themselves. I'm not saying they're bad people, but as an artist, you got to be in business for yourself first.
That's true.
I'll piggyback off that. That's really what it's all about now. Unlike back in the day when we were coming up, the labels represented the artist to some degree. Now, what I love about it is every artist is their own business now. It's not like, it's kind of like I always attribute it to like a donut shop, or you're selling donuts and socks. What makes this donut shop on this corner different than the one 2 miles away? They both sell donuts. That's bread with a hole in the middle, right? But it's how you market that bread with a hole in the middle. So every artist is unique in that sense. And that's why it's important that every artist who wants to do this understand the logistics of the business in terms of your writers, your mechanicals, your licensing, your publishing. All of that stuff is real, man, because I think a lot of times people get saturated and fascinated with the star aspect of it and want to be a star thing. But like I tell my students and people that I work with, all that glitters is not gold. So especially in this game. So, you know, you don't, I'm that guy who says, I don't have to be known by anybody, but I just want my money to be in the bank. You know,
Yeah.
I'll sacrifice. You don't never have to know about KWard W, but my money's in the bank. You know what I'm saying? Where you got those other folks that they want to be on TV, they want to be in front of cameras and all that, but there's no money in the bank. And so, you know, it's very important that you understand that. So, and, you know, your royalties, your CSAC, your ASCAP, BMI, all those companies, Sound Exchange, all these people that are there to collect that money. Because listen, man, we're artists. We don't paint pictures. We write music, and it costs a lot of money to produce a record and to produce a song. I mean, Jay, with this whole project, I mean, we're in the tens of thousands of dollars here. Right. Okay. And you have to recoup some of that money to finance future.
Yeah, so go pre-order at underthelake.bandcamp.com or on the website.
Please help us pay for this record. Right?
Yeah.
Really, that's what it is. You know, like you said, we're not getting rich off of this stuff. We do this because we love what we do, and it's a passion that we have.
It's like breathing.
What was that?
It's like breathing.
Yeah, and we want to put good things into the world. You know, it kind of goes into that realm for me. Is when I write a song, I get a certain sensation and feeling behind it, and I want other people to experience that. So, you know, as an artist, that's what our whole thing is about. But it costs money to do that. So, you know, I know everybody hears artists all the time, like, buy my CD and buy this and come to the show. And I know they get overbearing with that. But if we don't sell records, if we don't finance our habit, then, you know, we just fizzle on out, and then we become some of those people you're talking about that just, what happened to them, you know?
What happened to them? So how can we guys support Under the Lake? How can we support people by buying your music? Do we send them to the website, underthelake.com? Yeah,
the website's great. Underthelake.com is fantastic. They can hear all of our tracks from all of our albums there. They're all up there. They can pre-order the new album. They can go to the website, and there's a link. There's plenty of links to it all over the place. But we also we sell through Bandcamp, and that's underthelake.bandcamp.com. But there are links on there. There's links on our Facebook, facebook.com/underthelake. You can search Under the Lake as all one word. There is a writer out there that wrote a book, a very famous book, I guess, that's titled Under the Lake, and so Stewart something. And so if you search on Amazon, his stuff comes up more than our stuff. But otherwise, if you search for Under the Lake as all one word, you're going to get these links. And yeah, you can right now, actually, if people pre-order the new CD at Bandcamp, we'll give them a download code to download one of our older CDs for free.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's a great incentive. So everybody that's on the live, for those who go back and watch the replay, go to underthelake.bandcamp.com. Please support these amazing guys. Everybody, share the video. Go buy one for the car, and you need one for the house.
There you go.
Yeah, why not?
Right. And will you guys? Let me ask you this too, Jason. And a lot of people, because I was getting a lot of texts, they said, "Well, if they hit you up directly?" Also, a lot of people want autograph copies.
Oh yeah, if they want hard copies, we actually, you know, this is the funny thing that's changed the business is you hardly need to press CDs anymore because people don't buy CDs; they buy downloads. But yeah, we pressed some CDs. We can sign some copies. I'll route them to the guys. I'll get 5 signatures on the CDs. It might take us a week or two to get that all through, but we'll get it done.
Okay. Well, let me ask you both this. What's been your biggest challenge that you have to encounter in this business, you know, even as a group or just, you know, being in your own individual music careers?
I think whether it's as individuals or as a group, the biggest hurdle is getting the live gigs.
Okay.
We can get the music together. We can get the music out. If the music's good, we can get the music heard. You know, you're playing it. We can get it streamed on Spotify. All of that is fairly straightforward if you have your act together. Yeah. But the place that really makes a difference in your career is getting out and doing the live gigs. And, we talked a little bit earlier as 25 years ago when we were playing together, we were getting out there. We were starting to tour. And we were doing some great shows on the West Coast. We went to Hawaii a couple times. We got some great stories from Hawaii. We'll talk about those another time. And we're dying, and as I said, until COVID hit, we thought last year we're going to get back out in front of people. We got the release out before summer. And even this year, it's a little challenging to get back out in front of people. Things are not quite open yet, so we're hopeful later this year, early next year, but that's generally the biggest challenge. So that's the other thing that folks can do. In addition to buying the music and streaming the music is, if you're involved with clubs or you go out or somebody who's booking clubs or booking festivals, support those live events and put a good word in for us.
Okay, I definitely do that. You got any comments on that, Quentin?
No, man, I echo that tremendously. It's the talent buyers out there that I guess one of the challenges is to get them to take chances. You know what I mean? It's great that we have a I guess you would say a standard of artists out there, a stable of artists that they constantly rotate throughout these venues. And that's not to take anything away from those guys. They've earned that, respect. So, but to get the talent buyers to leave a slot maybe for, we'll take our name brand guys or whatever, girls or whatever, but we'll have a slot for maybe some people that are up and coming or relatively unknown, just so that we can keep the music fresh and then, let the listening audience hear some acts that they've never really heard from before. So I think that's one of the things I've mentioned to a number of people in the industry about, trying to get that message to the talent buyers that, we hear you and we understand that you have to sell tickets to these events and those names bring people in. But I don't think it's really that difficult to maybe have 1 hour on a 3-day festival for maybe one or two groups that are, or artists that are relatively building their career and trying to get somewhere, and just put them in there and let the crowd see them.
And because that's what I always say. I've been to a number of festivals, and I know you guys have played at the PDX Jazz Festival, the Cathedral Park Jazz Festival, the Newport Beach Jazz Festival. And I don't have to I don't name drop or call names, but there's so many talented groups and artists out here, and you typically see the same kind of headliners. So even though, I sit on a couple of boards here, and, I'm talking to a lot of the people on the board, and I'm like, look, we've had this particular group here the last, say, 3 or 4 times in the last 5 years. Why don't you look at this group? And you have this group to bring a different sound, to introduce new music. And sometimes that has just been a challenge. Or when we finally get a group there, and it's like, wow, we should have been had them here. And I'm like,
well, that's the deer in the headlight moment right there, right? That we're talking about. And like Jay mentioned, that's just a culture change thing that has to take place, because these people these talent buyers that do this, their jobs a lot of times are at stake, man, because these festivals cost so much money to put together. They've got to reassure their bosses that, hey, we're going to have people come to this thing. But that's a double-edged sword, because just like you mentioned, even for myself, I've seen festival after festival circulate in the same names. After a while, you don't want to go anymore, though, because I can only see X act so many times, and I'm like, okay, I've been there, done that already, right? And that's no disrespect to anybody. That's not taken away from their talent or being diminished or anything like that. That's just human nature, is that, you want to experience something fresh and new all the time, right? And music is like that too, because even for me, I don't even really listen to my Funky Sax CD anymore, because I've heard it like 2,000 times.
I love this thing.
You know what I mean?
No, but then there's the sort of for us, the added challenge as a group, like we talked about earlier. We're a band. There's 5 of us. We show up as a band, right. And a lot of what you see now on the circuit is
individuals.
Yeah, and I'm not taking away from anything that anybody is doing out there. Everybody's doing good work, and and I respect them. But Dave Koz will go out and with a band, and that bass player in that band will play with somebody else who's a solo sax player who's not traveling with a band, or a keyboard player, a guitar player who's not traveling with a band, and the drummer from another. So the bookers will use a lot of the individuals to fill out the backing bands for a bunch of individual instrumentalists. And I understand, again, why they're doing that. That's a budget conscious thing. And they're really, to Quentin's point, they're really focused on that headline instrumentalist. We're economically, for them, we're a different choice. And, and that just creates a hurdle.
Right. Yeah, I completely understand that. But we definitely need Under the Lake. Again, everybody that's on this live tonight, y'all share the video. Make sure you support the band. We put their link up here. Make sure you go and get the new project that's coming out, Old Friends, New Grooves, which is streaming on all major platforms. And I did want to ask you guys both, who were some of you all's musical influences?
Wow.
What, Jay?
Well,
hold on. I'm sitting in the dark. I'm looking at myself. Am I dark?
No, you're good.
Are you sure? Because I can turn the light on.
You're beautiful.
It just got dark all of a sudden here.
You have a beautiful, nice tan skin tone. You're beautiful, man.
I think that's a little better, right?
That's better. That's better. The sun went down on you.
Yeah, it got dark outside here. So
it's interesting. It's everything. I mean, if you think about jazz, for me, it's everything from Miles Davis back in before Kind of Blue, the early Miles, like 1949 and through the 50s all the way forward, and everybody who came from Miles, Herbie Hancock, Wayne Shorter. Then you get into the 70s, and it's particularly for this band, it's things like Weatherport, Chick Corea's Electric Band, Return to Forever, the Crusaders, Pat Metheny Group. But what is an interesting kind of mix with that is, like this last album, I was listening to a lot of Barry White and a lot of classic R&B, the Spinners, the Stylistics. And, there's one track on here, I mentioned it's called Silver Linings. Mm-hmm. It at least to me, it's a reflection of that kind of music as it is anything else. It's a jazz instrumental, but, it's completely influenced by that work of that group of artists. It's at least for me. So it's a mix of things. And I'm sure Quentin's influences are just as eclectic.
Yeah. What about you, Quentin?
Yeah. Well, as for music or the saxophone, because I kind of
just some of your influences.
Yeah. Well, musically, like I said, I grew up listening to a lot of funk music, Brick Slave, Parliament.
Oh yeah.
Ohio Players, on and on, James Brown, of course. But when I started getting into jazz, I have two guys that really made an impact on me. And it's funny because one of them is my best friend, Kenny KWard, who played with Miles Davis. Mm-hmm. And, I actually wrote a song on one of my albums, Perseverance, Last Call from Miles. He and I was one of the last people that spoke with Miles before he passed on. He actually called us. We had pagers back in the day. We have cell phone. And Kenny and I pulled over to a payphone and talked to Miles at the hospital. And right after we hung up, he went into a coma. So I wrote a song called Last Call from Miles. And that was the last time we spoke with him. And so Kenny KWard is a major influence. And the other Kenny G, of course, is another influence of mine, believe it or not, because when I was about 14 years old or something like that down here in New Orleans, I was sitting on a levee, and a friend of mine introduced me to Jeff Lorber. Okay. And he said, man, you got to hear this guy that plays with Jeff Lorber called Kenny G. And I was like, really? I hadn't heard of him before. And then when I heard the tape, I was blown away. Yeah. And as fate would have it, I just finished doing they interviewed me for a documentary on Kenny that's going to be coming out soon, because you know, we both played with Jeff Lorber, so we had that kind of connection together. So they called me up and say, hey, would you be interested? I said, yeah, sure, why not? Because he's one of my influences. And then other than that, Bob Mintzer from the Yellow Jackets. I love Bob. I love his style of playing. Rick Margitza is a rather maybe unknown guy. He played with Miles a little bit. And then, of course, Hollis Gentry, who Jay can tell you about. Is a big with, yeah. I got the opportunity to play with Hollis, who was on Jay's. Was that the Up for Air record? I think, right?
He was on. Yeah, he was on both the first two albums.
The first two albums, and I actually got to become like a little understudy for Hollis because I really liked his clean style of playing. You know, a lot of guys nowadays, I call it the screaming sax. You know. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. A lot of guys, get into that really screaming sax thing, but Hollis was always more about the melodic lines, the melody lines, and the melodicness of the playing. So those have been my influences. And of course, you got the Grover Washingtons, and you know, Ronnie Laws is a huge. I mean, come on. I mean, Ronnie is like. People tell me I sound like Ronnie all the time, and I'm like, yes. I'm like, yes, that's what's up, man. But Ronnie is the master, man. He's a pioneer of this smooth jazz stuff. So. And I think Ronnie doesn't get the credit that he deserves as a leader and just a guy that was just a phenomenal vocalist, saxophone player, all of that. So that's my background.
Okay, thanks for sharing it. But I wanted to go back to what Jason said earlier about, you know, we were talking about. I don't know if Quentin was on there. And we were talking about different vocalists being on the project that you all never had featured. But I see some amazing vocalists that's on the line, like Costello.
Yeah.
Still, and I know you mentioned Mesa and Avery Sunshine. So what I'm gonna put them to a challenge is that, you know, we're gonna get together Costello and Whittington and Mesa and Avery, and we're gonna come on here, just us behind the scenes, and to Under the Lake, and you all choose which track that you all like to sing together. Then I'll link you up with Jason. You get with Under the Lake. Who knows? And you all can drop a project.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you the secret for me, if we could play anything, if we could lay down a track and sound like anybody in the world, it would be Incognito.
Oh,
I love Incognito.
Yeah, who doesn't love Incognito? I love that group, guys.
That is just their charts, their production, the playing, the vocals are always just out of this world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, ladies and gentlemen, if you're just tuning in, our special guest tonight was international jazz group Under the Lake, which we have tonight. Quentin KWard W is here, the brother on the sax, the funk sax. We got Jason Tip, the founder of the keyboard player of Under the Lake, which also consists of other members, Patrick Yando, Nathan Brown, and Richard Sillett. Guys, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. I didn't mean to talk your ears off, but I want to appreciate both of you taking the busy few minutes out of your busy schedule to come and talk with me on Artist Talk, and I welcome you back anytime.
Oh, awesome. Thank you very much. We really appreciate the interest.
Thank you as well, man. It was a blast. I loved it. It's great.
All right. Everybody on the live, make sure you go out and pick up the project. Costello said
Costello's got it right.
Costello's on it, man. She's on it.
She was always. And real quick, if you can do it in 30 seconds, what's the best advice that you've been given about life in general? You can go, Jason.
Do what you love.
Okay. What about you, Quentin?
Good things comes to those who work.
Right. You heard it right here, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jazzie KWard, and thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight. Again, the group Under the Lake. Make sure you go pick out their latest project, Old Friends, New Grooves. Guys, continued blessings to you. Whatever I can do on my end to continue to support both of you, your craft and your music, I will definitely do that. Of course, I do that each and every Saturday on 90.7 FM WVAS.
We know.
WVAS.
Yeah. So I definitely got you guys back, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And I'm going to get you guys just to hold on for a second. And everybody, again, thank you so much for joining me on Artist Talk. Look forward to being back here on tomorrow night with another special guest. And make sure in closing that don't forget to go over to KWard Radio. I almost forgot that. KWard Radio, subscribe to my YouTube channel, subscribe on my website. Any artists that would like to be featured on the show, all of my information is posted there. Email address, send me your music. If you would like to support the show, monetary, PayPal, Cash App information is also listed as there. Again, thank you all so much. Costello, Whittington, Victoria. I hope I had a Stan, Brian. I also saw Stan there. Nicole, thank you so much. Chef D was also on the line. Have a good night. Make sure you take care of yourself and be kind to others. See ya.
A live one-on-one conversation, 30 minutes of pure entertainment with musicians, writers, and actors to motivators, chefs, and even rappers to up-and-comings with the it factor. It's the Jazzie KWard coming at ya.